Okay, so I'm laughing right now because I just admitted my crush on Amy just before we hit record. Because we were having a little chat, as I always do before I hit record. We jump on Zoom together, me and my guests, and we talk about, okay, cool, what's really alive and present for you right now? And that's the direction. Even though I get them to fill out a form before they when they book their podcast interview with me, and I asked them, what would you like to talk about on your episode? I love that it always kind of it transmutes just a little bit, it alchemizes just a little bit when we jump on Zoom together and we're looking each other in the eye. And I ask them, what's alive and present for you right now? Like, what do you want to talk about? And we go there. And I love so much that you raised what's really come up for you this year, and what's really, really present for your clients is standards. And I haven't talked about this with anybody yet. And you just like, you switched on a room inside my brain that I was just like, where have I had to step into my standards this year? And then we obviously chatted about it a little bit. And I really want to go there like in depth with you right now because this is fascinating. It's really interesting. And so I would be really keen to hear how standards have played out for you in your life and what you're seeing in your clients as well. Because I'm sure when with the women listening, they're going to hear something in themselves as well.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you for having me, firstly. So excited to chat. We've been giggling and laughing away before even hitting record. So I know this is going to be a fun conversation. Um, yeah. And, as we've been talking too, I wonder if the big increasing focus on standards and maybe calibrating to new standards that I've been experiencing myself and watching in clients and watching in the people around me. I wonder if it is also to do with the big transformations people have gone through this year as well. And this is kind of like the next phase of people, so many people, it's been a 9 year, so many people have gone through huge life changes this year, a lot of purging, a lot of letting go, a lot of realigning. And in all honesty, I think that will continue into next year and into 2027 as well, just with um, what's talked about in human design, like the kind of shifts we're going through collectively. It would make sense if there's still like, if people haven't gone through change this year, it's probably coming next year, like in some kind of way. But yeah, standards have been a really interesting thing for me that I've been one contemplating and watching the experiences of my clients this year and in myself. I tend to be very unconscious of my own process, though. I tend to like kind of move through things, and then it's like I come a few months out of it and I have the perspective, and I'm like, oh, wow, okay, no, that happened, and then that happened. And then it makes sense for me when I can kind of look back and I've had a bit of time to process and digest. And I'm a projector in my human design, and projectors, we can't really see ourselves. So we can see other people, but we're just kind of fumbling around in the dark a little bit on our on our own path. But standards, so what's happened for me personally this year, I had a really, I would say, challenging year last year. Very 12th house, very dark moon, very in the chrysalis, nearly burnt my whole business down. Was like, I don't know what I want to be doing anymore. Like, yeah. And all kind of behind the scenes, just feeling like there was change, being in that in between where it's like, something's changing and it's not quite clicking into place for me, like what it is, what the changes are. That all happened for me this year, really kind of like June, July this year. It's like, oh, now I can feel it. Now I can feel the coherence. Now and we've birthed several new kind of offerings. Going to Substack was a big part of that change for me. But I was in this like, I'm like, I don't know what I want to be doing. And I was in my 7 year anniversary of my business too. And I think that, um, you see it in relationships too. You go through every 7 years a Saturn square. And so it's just like there's a little bit of dynamic tension there that can really the purpose is to like fuel the next change and the next evolution, right? But it can feel a bit crunchy while you're in it. And then, yeah, had some big family things. My mum was diagnosed with cancer at the end of last year, and I was traveling, and then I came home, was sort of pulled back to Australia to kind of be here with her through that, and lived with her through her chemo journey and all of the things, and kind of came out the other side of that in this like, what do I actually want? I feel like I went through this just huge purging and letting go, and so many identities that or stories that I maybe had about myself, just I felt all of that dropping away. And so this year for me has really looked like a calibrating to like what I would call higher standards, and I try to think of it as standards, not boundaries too, because I heard something recently, maybe it was on Peter Kelly's podcast, but I had heard it before too, that a standard, that a boundary, you only need to put a boundary in place when you're disempowered. Like it's when, and so for me, I've worked with standards for a few years. I had a mentor in 2023 who was big on standards. So it's like kind of been in my field, but I felt myself really calibrating to these new standards. And I can't really explain what happened, but it became, for me, the process was the standard no longer being a mental kind of construct, something I'm thinking about, something I'm trying to engineer. It actually just became an embodied presence, is the way I feel it. And this is what I experience in my clients. So I've had lots of these conversations this year. And what I find is the change that happens when someone has that aha moment and when someone has that like, oh no, I deserve better than, oh no, like I'm not going to do that anymore, because I think especially for women in business, like it's very easy for us to compromise. I feel like women were kind of hardwired to compromise in different ways, like just through conditioning and society and all of that. And so I think like in business and in love, like so many of us can compromise on what we really want, on what really feels true and coherent for us, because oftentimes there can be a fear, and in human design, like I connect this to the energy types, right? So for generators and mani-gens, there can be a lot of fear around what if I never have anything to respond to, right? What if there's never anything that lights me up? What if I never have that thing? For manifestors, it's what if I never have an impact? What if I never, yeah. What if I never have impact? For projectors, it's very much about what if I never know myself and what if I never create success, so and reflectors, the fear is often around like not knowing who they are each day. But like from that place, we can really compromise and sort of say yes to things that maybe aren't right for us, um, commit our energy to things that we don't really have the energy available to do. So I feel like I went through this kind of ruthless process, especially when I was caring for my mum, because it was like, I just don't have the bandwidth all the time for anything that's not essential right now. It was a really powerful few months for me in prioritizing and realizing like how much of my bandwidth and my energy I had maybe been giving to things that weren't that important or weren't essential or weren't really moving the needle forward. So I went through this process of like ruthlessly sort of guarding my time and my energy. And in that became really, really clear and I think embodied in the standards that I have for my work, the standards that I have for even like my relationships, my friendships, the standards that I have in romantic relationships too. And like I went through that process and you know, this is probably actually the most personal thing I'll share. I went through that process and I had been single for 13 years. Like I had dated, yeah, relationships are a huge, huge thing for me. Had a lot of trauma from my early 20s. Um, and have found myself like very organically and naturally since going through that process, calling in the most beautiful, beautiful, secure relationship where I just feel so loved and adored and cherished. But again, and it just happened. Like, wasn't like I was really manifesting it. I literally just shifted, like, no, I'm not settling for that. That's not what I want. I got really clear on like what I did want. Um, yeah, but the shifts I've seen in my clients too, like I've had clients where we've had these conversations about, their authority or like how like their genius and like, no, 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 you have so much to value to give. You don't need to be um spreading your energy too thin or trying to convince people. Like it's actually more about holding that presence of like, no, 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 I know what I've got. I know the value that I bring to this space. And then within 2 days, having like big sales coming in, more client calls and things like that. So like I feel like I've seen how quickly that can shift. So I don't know. So it's like standards, but it's also like then the presence maybe that you have, and maybe I'm still kind of working it out, like in my head, but the confidence that you have too, when it's like you really own, like, no, this is what I'm here for. And it's not a nice to have. I think that's been the big thing for me, like not treating these things as, well, that would be nice, or it's nice for some people, or that would be a luxury, and I'll settle for the bare minimum, bare minimum. It's like, no, 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 this is actually, this is the baseline for me, and I'm going to own that.
Yeah, that's really fascinating for me. And I love what you said around, I've never heard that spoken to before about boundary is something you need to set in place when you feel disempowered, and a standard is something that you choose for yourself. And it's that's a very empowered thing to do. The only sort of person I've heard speak about standards that I've, looked at or learned from is Amanda Francis when she talks about money. And she talks about setting an energetic minimum standard of how much money you're willing to, like the baseline you're
Mm,
willing to have in your bank account at any time, and then like, working on raising that standard or that
mm,
barometer, whatever you want to call it for yourself.
mm,
That's really life changing for me and really eye opening, because myself, like I can see where I've set new standards for myself this year. And
mm,
funnily enough, it has come through disempowering circumstances where, like, I was made redundant, and then, I've had to untangle my identity from my career this year. And that's taken a lot longer than I wanted it to, but that's okay. That was obviously what had to happen. And
mm,
through, everyone who follows me knows this, like I applied for over 70 different jobs and I didn't get any of them. And then what has happened in the last sort of month or so is I've ended up getting more work through an existing client, and then I've signed two new clients. So I have like three incredible clients that I'm contracted with, that I have said to some really close girlfriends recently, I finally feel like the right pieces of the puzzle are
mm,
clicking into place. I feel like the universe was giving me the little pieces to help keep me going throughout the year.
mm,
But now these big pieces of the puzzle are finally clicking into place for me to help me really solidify my foundation from which I can then grow and flourish. But the biggest piece of work for me has been really stepping into my worth for these contracts and being like, yes, like I am talented, I am gifted, I have these skills to bring, I can bring this work to life in the most prolific, fantastic way. And as I said to you before we hit record, like it really took a lot for me to step into my worth and step
mm,
forward as the woman who is standing on this side of that energetic exchange, and knowing that I am worthy of receiving the compensation, like the financial compensation, yes, of course, and also the appreciation, because
mm,
these clients that I work with, these companies that I work with, these people, they are so appreciative of me, and they value me so much. And I'm like, dude, you've got to see this in yourself. Like, you have to see this in yourself to know that you are worthy of like having not only having this work, but receiving this money and really being appreciated by the people you're working with. And that's been a huge thing. And I did not realize that I have done that until you said to me, like, actually, what's been really present? Standards. And I'm like, holy fuck. Didn't even realize that was a theme that was playing out in my life this year as well. Like, it's
mm,
wild. It's so wild. And I
mm,
love that you've cast this lens for our conversation, because it's just like, where are we? What standards do we hold for ourselves? Like, not
mm,
just, in work, but in, like you said, romantic relationships, in friendships, in, how we take care of ourselves, from the food we eat to the exercise we do to, like,
mm,
everything, the way we dress, the way we
mm,
present in the world. Like, what are the standards we are holding for ourselves? And I think there's a really core sort of thing in that around visibility as
mm,
well, is like, what are we allowing for ourselves? And it made me laugh while you were talking, because I have this term that I coined with my clients called a reverse epiphany, which just basically means you
mm.
figure out what you want by knowing what you don't want. It's like,
Yeah.
nah, don't want that, not available for that anymore. Fuck that. That can fuck right off. Like, no,
Yeah.
thank you. And then you eventually you clear, like it's almost like clearing the
Clear it.
path, right? You're just
Yeah.
clearing the path of all the bullshit and all the stuff that can't stay, that can't go forward with you. And then once you've cleared that space, you can actually see what you want. Because
Mm,
I laugh, I think there's a quote out there that says something like the hardest question in the world you could ever ask a woman is, what do you want?
mm, totally. Oh my gosh, I love that. A reverse epiphany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
works. It really works. It's like, okay, cool. Well, what's not working? What's not working for you
Mm,
anymore? What do you hate? What is driving you crazy? What's draining you? Like, what can't come forward with you anymore? And once you get all that bullshit out the way,
mm,
you can actually see what you do want and what you're
mm,
available for and what you're willing to accept and receive. And it's really funny as well because I was having a conversation with a girlfriend and we were both having meltdowns this week, both of us. I was like walking my dog around an oval on Wednesday, bawling my eyes out on voice note to my girlfriends because I was having a fucking mental breakdown and I was having that very moment you described about what the fuck am I doing? Like, what am I doing? What is my
mm,
business? Like, what am I even here for? Like, is this even working? What's the point?
mm,
What is the point? And then as soon as I had that meltdown, I had like an epiphany on the other side of it.
mm.
And she and one of my girlfriends is putting on an event and she is struggling with ticket sales. And she had a meltdown yesterday on voice note to me. And then she texted me a couple of hours later and said, I just sold two more tickets.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant. It's almost like the magic comes after the meltdown. And it's like,
Yeah.
how many women, I think this is key. How many women do you think, because you would work with a lot of women as well,
Mm,
how many women do you see just repressing how they're feeling and just bottling it up inside and not letting the rage or the frustration or the sadness or the stress come out and not giving voice to it
mm.
because we're so scared of like unraveling. Because what
Eh,
happens when we unravel? Like what comes after that? And in actual fact, what's
mm,
been proven to me and to my girlfriends, because there are others who've been having meltdowns this week as well. Fuck me sideways. This last full moon and this Mercury retrograde have a lot to answer
mm.
for. It's been a fucking shit show for me and my girlfriends in particular. And it's like, well, what comes after the meltdown is the magic or the epiphany
Mm.
or the sale or the client or whatever it is. Like, have you seen that in your clients as well? They're just really scared to give voice to what they're holding inside.
Totally. And I think it's, it can be a big block, right? Because then it just festers and it stays stagnant. And the biggest thing I think, especially in business, is you want that energy's moving all the time, right? I heard something recently about how children, a lot of the time and I don't know if it relates. To me, it relates. In my mind, it connects. But how children often, if they're throwing a tantrum, it's their way of regulating their nervous system, and so they come out of the other side of it more calibrated. And so I feel like that's what can happen to us if we do just kind of, see it, sense it, and then express it and kind of get it out. Um, I have the same experience. Definitely, I have meltdowns too. I actually had full moon was gnarly for me last week. I had to like clear my schedule for Thursday. I think like rescheduled a client, rescheduled two classes. And I was like, I am like not in a state to show up and hold space. There's like something percolating. And I actually started to feel sick too, and I actually feel when like with sickness too, like a cold, or for me, it's often like a really bad headache or just like really low, again, like could be a projector thing, but very low energy. Like there's just nothing in the tank. I look at them now, those days now, especially if it's just something I move through in like 24 hours as like an upgrade portal too, because I always come out the other side of it and it's like I've recalibrated, I've got clarity. It's like, oh, yes, okay, now we can do this, now we can launch that, So maybe it's a bit of a nervous system thing too, and that if we do just have our version of a tanty, our version of like a meltdown, which is very normal, I think like business is such a pressure cooker too. It brings up all your stuff, doesn't it? Like I feel like if you want to move through hyper speed personal development and hyper speed deconditioning, like start a business because you'll have all your shit thrown at you. Um, but yeah, no, so I've definitely experienced that and seen it. So yeah, if you can just surrender to it and let it be okay, And for me, last Thursday with the full moon, I was also just like, I just feel sad. and I don't know what it is. And I was like trying to associate
Oh my
meaning to
God,
it.
yes, me too.
Yeah.
I get hit with such intense sadness and I'm like, why am I so sad, girl, right now? And I call it my
Mm.
sad girl feels. I'm like, why am I in my sad girl feels right now? Like it just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. And I think the best thing is just to like, we've been so conditioned to like, well, you repress it, you push through, you just keep going, you just stick to all your commitments, you just do your things. And I feel like I've got so much evidence now for like, no, actually, if I do the opposite, I move through it faster, I get the clarity, and then we're moving forward. And so
Yeah.
if for me, if that does look like I'm rescheduling things in my business, people are always okay with that too. And I could, if someone wasn't, I feel like I could position it as like, I don't think you want my guidance right now. Like, I don't think this is the state you
You
want
don't
me
want me
guiding
in
you
this
from.
state right now.
Yeah, and
Yeah, totally.
I can't mind set my way out of this. I have to go in and feel it and be with it and let the process kind of happen. And this is a thing in human design. Actually, they talk about like when you are having that emotional experience, that it is a process of like you're going in, you might not understand it, but you're going into this process of like data collecting, and you're gathering sort of more perception about something emotionally in like a sensed way, not logically. So it kind of makes sense that like if you go into it, you have the breakdown and then you come out and it's like, okay, now I've got the awareness. This is where we're going. We can move forward. This is who I am. Okay, I remembered who I am. I remember what my business is. Yeah.
That is so interesting what you just said. That phrase in particular really struck me is in a sensed way. Like,
Yeah.
because a lot of people, I think women in particular, like a lot of us have struggled through conditioning and society and whatnot to be like all up in our heads and a lot
Mm,
struggle to feel like what is my guidance system feel like? Like what is my body telling me? Like I can't even feel, like I don't know, what does that feel like? And what you just said then about in a sensed way. And then you said immediately
mm,
after that, it makes sense, right?
mm.
It's like, wow, that is like so, that's really cool. Is like, yeah, really learning to feel your senses. Like, what does it feel like to you to be intuitively guided? And also, I just, while you were speaking, I was just thinking about my own human design, and I'm a 4/6 splenic manifester and
Mm,
the not self theme. And I know that you really talk a lot to that is like when you're not in alignment, you're not, that's your not self theme, is like when you're not your
mm,
true self. And mine is anger as a
mm,
manifester. And I've just been so like angry
mm,
lately. And I'm like, oh, okay, why is this anger coming up? Like, and I feel like as well as a woman in particular, like we're not meant to get angry. No, we're not meant to get angry. Like you suppress that, you just like you got to let that shit like you got to put a wet cloth on that because that fire cannot erupt. And yet, like what you said is when we throw our own equivalent of a tantrum, if I just get really fucking angry for a minute, I'm okay on the other side of it. Like I move through that so
mm,
fast. It's so interesting. And literally like what I've been saying with my girlfriends when we've been having our meltdowns this week is like let yourself have the meltdown because there's a
mm,
reason this feeling is coming up. If it's frustration or if it's, bitterness, if it's anger, whatever, sadness, whatever,
mm,
like let it have its moment because there's something there that needs to be looked at. And
mm,
as soon as you clear it, because like, you gotta feel it to heal it, so to speak, is like as soon as you clear it, like whatever it is that you were wanting to get to on the other side of it is going to appear. And
mm.
I just think that's so empowering.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that you referenced your anger, right? Has that been really powerful for you to just like reclaim as like I can own
Yeah.
my anger and it's a
Yeah.
healthy expression for me and it's a clue.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's not,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Because I
Mm,
had something really shitty happen to me
mm,
last weekend of a personal nature, like a
mm,
friendship nature. And I was like, that was really fucked. Like that was
mm,
shit. And I called it. I just called it. Like I said it to my husband. I talked to a couple of really close girlfriends about it. And like I was like that was just bullshit. That was bullshit. That was shitty. And it made me feel like crap. It made me feel excluded. It took me right back to high school. And I just got
mm,
angry about it. And then, like,
mm,
within 48 hours, I had cleared it. And
mm,
and then at the end of that, one of my very, very wise girlfriends said to me, you let wounded Sonia have her moment, and that is a
mm,
beautiful thing. And so now that you have felt this and you've moved through it and you've cleared it, what does empowered Sonia want to do from this point forward? And
Mm,
I was like, yeah.
mm,
That is such a great, it's just such a great question. And I just said to her, like, I've cleared it, I've felt it, I've called it, I've named it. I see it, I see a different perspective now. And this is how I'm going to move forward. And that
mm,
was just such a magic moment for me because like she said that. And the other thing she said to me, because she's moving through her own thing right now with friendships and, really calling
mm,
into question some significant relationships in her life and really reevaluating and reassessing what she's available for now. Like she's going through her own standards moment
mm,
at the moment. And she said, Sonia, the two questions I'm constantly asking myself now every single day is how do I want to fill my time? And who do I want to spend my time with?
mm,
And I just felt like, whoa, like that is so powerful.
mm,
So powerful because so many of us are moving through our days on autopilot. So many
mm,
of us are like staying in relationships or friendships just because like they've always been there or there's like maybe
mm,
history or whatever. It's like, no, 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 no. Like,
mm,
who are you today? Who are you today? What does today look like for you? And how does it feel? And how do you want to fill your time? And who do you want to spend it with?
mm,
Because I just feel like, especially one of our good friends, he lost a very dear friend to MND just the other day. And
mm,
it was, yeah, brutal, just brutal. And like, he's like, life is so precious. Like, life is so precious. And it's so awful that,
mm,
we have to like go through something really traumatic, like losing somebody close to us to remind us of that. But like we also get to remind ourselves every single day, you know?
mm,
And I think
totally.
that's a gift.
Mm,
It's an absolute gift. And so just on like standards in particular, what I said to you before we hit record is I find you so fascinating. Like if I was going to write a PhD about somebody, I would write it about you and social media and visibility and yet
mm,
still being incredibly magnetic and successful because you have this unique ability. And if you don't follow Amy on Instagram, you're going to follow her now because you are a masterclass in protecting your privacy, protecting your peace, having your standards around social media and how you engage with it.
mm.
And I'm really fascinated. I would love whatever you're comfortable sharing. I want to know your deepest, darkest secrets. I want to know your secrets and your standards. I want to know your secrets and your standards around social media because you don't show a lot of your life.
Mm.
P.S. Can you please give Marnie a hug from me?
Yeah.
I'm obsessed. Amy has the most gorgeous golden retriever called Marnie, and she is just sunshine in dog form. Anytime
Mm.
she's on your stories, I'm pressing that love heart.
Yeah.
Nobody's business. Like I would message you every single time she appears, but I don't want to appear
Yeah.
crazy. So I
Oh.
just do the little love heart instead.
Mm.
Um, what are your secrets and standards around social media? Because you are very successful, people are drawn to you and your work. I personally feel really connected to you and
Mm.
really love your work. And yeah, I'm just fascinated how you do it because I know there are a lot of women out there who have this like push pull, this tug of war with social media. Like, I know I
Mm.
need to be on there for my business and I know I need to be visible. Everybody says take up space, be visible, blah, blah, blah. But like, they might be struggling, with how do they do their own version of that? So I would love to know how do
Mm.
you do your version of social media as a woman running an online business?
Mm, thank you, honey. This is such an interesting question. I don't think I've ever been asked this before. So it's interesting for me to talk about. Firstly, I am a very private person. I am a 5-1 profile in my human design. So I have that first line body, which can be way more introspective. And then the fifth line part, if anyone's a 5, you know, we tend to want to be able to disappear. People with a 5 in their profile, like come out, here's my stuff, and then I need to disappear behind the curtain. So I honor that. And the 12th house sun, I'm an 8th house moon. I'm just very watery, very introspective. And so I do think a part of it for me is that I've always endeavored to create and share in a way that feels coherent and sustainable for me. And, being a first line body, we can be very safety sensitive too. So it's always been a sort of sense of like, what do I actually feel like I have the safety in my body and my nervous system, to do and to share. And just, you know, I never wanted to have a social media where I was sharing my whole life either. I'm not an external processor either. I know a lot of people will share like while they're in the process, which is really aligned and like super coherent for some people, especially for third lines, to be kind of sharing the messy middle and sharing on the go and here are the mistakes and all of the things. But for me, it's like I just don't process and integrate that way. And being a fifth line, I'm very aware that what I share needs to be practical for people. It needs to be practical, it needs to be tangible. So, like, I'll be moving through stuff behind the scenes, and then it can be maybe months later that I might share about it in an email, or now I might talk about it on Substack. Um, so, yeah, it's not necessarily been like a super intentional, like, I keep myself like these areas private. I think it's been more, this is me showing up in a way that's coherent for me. I do like, I really appreciate you saying you still feel connected and people feel seen and things like that, because I have always tried to engage with people like in my DMs. Like I actually quite enjoy that, but like I'm terrible at replying to comments on posts. I get a little bit overwhelmed with the comments, and sometimes like I just won't reply to any comments. I'm like, I just couldn't get into it. But then I'll be having conversations with people in my DMs as well, as much as I have capacity for. Um, so yeah, but the thing that I think, the reason why I think it works for me is also because I'm very conscious of like presence and the presence that I do bring. So when I do show up, I do want people to really feel me. And I've always, I mean, it's such a dance in the online space. I think people, we want to be authentic and we want to be who we really are. But I've always kind of tried to balance that with and like I can be authentic and be who I am. And there's a curated nature to this. I think I've always been really aware that like, well, this is my work. This is a professional space. This is my business too. Like, and so I'm quite curated, I think, in what I share and what I talk about. But yeah, sharing my dog is just one of the ways I'm like, okay, I can let people in this way, and it feels really nice. And I've actually bonded with like the amount of people that send me golden retriever reels and memes. It's so lovely. Like every week I get several from like like there's a handful of people. I'm just like, I love you guys. Like that you see golden retrievers and you think of me makes me just feel so lovely. And I think I'm always just mindful of like, how is what I'm sharing useful to, which, because it's just, and again, it works for some people to be sharing the messy middle and being in the process. Like I absolutely, and I love a lot of people who do that. But just for me personally with my design, it's like, I feel like it needs to be more curated, and in order for it to feel sustainable and feel safe for me and for
Yeah,
me to feel good.
I think there's a really important distinction to make though, because it's really interesting actually. I had a conversation with Christy Gray, the astrologer, and we talked about, because we're both like word nerds, we just absolutely geek out on language. And
Mm,
we were talking about reclaiming certain words that have been absolutely butchered by the online business world, like for
mm,
example, like authentic, and I
mm,
think what you just said is I feel like this is a really good opportunity to redefine the word curated, because
mm,
curated has been vilified in the online
mm,
space, especially on Instagram, it's been associated with inauthentic, fake,
mm,
like overly produced, polished.
mm,
It's like, this is not real. This is just like, this is what I'm presenting on Instagram. So I look good and people think I'm cool or whatever.
mm,
And I really want to say that like the way that you curate is very
mm,
authentic. So like can we talk to the word curate in that, what does curate mean to you, and what's going, like
mm,
what are the elements, what are the aspects of your curation of your Instagram that
mm.
we then see the end product of?
That's so interesting because I didn't know curated had that connotation. I'm so oblivious sometimes, but I totally get the shifts, right, that we've seen even in the way people presented their feeds. Like I remember a few years ago, people were like, don't do the perfect feed, where it's like color blocked and all the things. And I used to do that and was like, oh, I'm just going to keep doing that. I'll just, like I think I'm really good at just doing what I want, as well. Like I can hear people's opinions and perspectives, and at the end of the day, and I have this in my design too. Um like I have one of the channels that I have is really about sort of uh, uh, um it's kind of more about authority, but like when someone has an authority, if it doesn't feel right to me, I have like that it built into me to be like, I'm going to do it differently and probably prove you wrong anyway, so I actually didn't know that, but yeah, no, so the way, how do I curate? In the beginning, I think I did get, I've been sharing on social media for nearly 8 years in my business now. So this was like 2017, 2018. In the beginning, I think I did get really clear on like, what do I talk about? And that was kind of the curated process. But I'm a quad right in my human design. I'm very receptive. I'm very in flow. So now I think it is curated, but that's still just me being in flow with what feels right for me to share, what wants to come through, what feels alive in me that in each day. Um, but I also have like a less is more. I think social media has become really loud too. So part of it's almost like anti-marketing, like backwards. Like what does seem to work for me is a less is more approach. And I think that has cultivated a level of, the people who really like my work because I'm not available all the time. I feel like it almost makes when I do share, it makes it feel more special because it's like it's not there all the time. I'm not on here all the time. I do just fuck off for like a few. Sorry, I don't know if am allowed to swear on
Have
this
you
or
heard
not.
how many times I've sworn in
Oh
this
yeah, okay.
episode?
I'm just Aussies. I'm so like
Yeah,
immune to swearing.
yeah.
I don't really clock it when other people do, and then when I do, like, oh, I have a lot of Americans in my community, and sometimes they can be a little bit more conscious of like cussing, um, which is fair. Um, so yeah, so I feel like that, like there is a level, I guess, I'm a projector, I'm a fifth line. There is a level with social media of me wanting my energy or me just having the standard that my energy is exclusive and it's not for everyone. And I can't be giving my energy, my attention, my perspective. I can't be overdoing it. Otherwise, I can't actually serve in my client work. And that's probably the other big thing for me with social media, with marketing. It's always come after my client work for me, so I will set my week up and I'll do what I need to do to be like my best in particularly my one-on-one client sessions. Like they're like it, and that is a real projector thing. Like our energy does tend to be more magnetic and alluring the more we're focusing on our genius and our mastery and not trying to solicit invitations or coerce or be seen, like when we're in that energetic state of like, I want everyone to see me and what can I do to get in front of you and how do I, da, 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 it can actually be really repelling for projectors. So that might just be a part of it as well, like just the projector aura and that I'm so in my client world and so in my studies too most of the day. Like I'm not on social media like all that much. Yeah, so I don't know if that's a
That's
good enough
amazing. No,
answer
that's
or yeah.
really, really fascinating and so
Mm.
interesting to hear it through your perspective, which is beautiful because, yes, everything that you put out, I feel the word that comes to my mind immediately is considered. Like it's
Mm.
very thoughtful. Like, of course, everything you put out is beautiful. Like, do you do your own graphics and your own stuff?
Mostly, I have
Yeah.
over the years hired like
Yeah.
different designers to and give me like a brand blueprint,
Yeah.
or I have someone at the moment who's doing some new logos for us, but then I just kind of take it and do my own
That's
thing.
cool. Yeah, that's great. And like I've done the same thing as well. Like I've
Mm,
worked with designers. I'm like, yeah, give me a color palette, tell me what fonts to use.
yeah,
Like this is what I like, and then I can run with it.
yeah.
And yeah, I love that because yes, everything you put out is very considered. And I agree with you, is like it's really lovely that you do take that approach for yourself because whenever you're doing whatever you're doing, you're bringing the very best of yourself to it. And I love that so
Mm,
much. And I'd just be really interested. I'm going to be like really selfish and take full advantage of the fact that this is my
yeah.
podcast and I'm interviewing you. But like, then we're going to give, like, you and I are both of the same ilk in that I love to give practical
Yeah.
advice or something tangible for people to then go away and do it for themselves. It's like, I'm a
Mm,
4/6 splenic manifester. So what does that mean for me? Like, how does that
mm,
translate to me showing up on social media? And then, like, where can we look in our charts to sort of gain a little
mm,
bit of, like, I suppose, self recognition and also
mm,
self validation of, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. this is how I naturally want to do things, especially on social media. So, like, here's my
Mm,
permission slip right here in my chart. So,
mm,
like, what can you speak to for me, knowing what you know
mm,
about me? And then where can people look for themselves to get that little permission slip?
I love this, honey. Do you know in your chart, do you have root center defined going up to your throat, or do you have ego to throat?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I only have three defined centers.
Mm.
Um, and I'm just going to pull up my
So it'll be
design.
spleen, throat, and something,
Mhm.
and a
Yeah,
motor.
yeah. It is yes, it is spleen, it is throat, and it is ego.
Yeah, okay. And you have the direct ego to throat kind of channel, then
Yes.
the
Yeah.
money channel. Yeah. Which is really the channel of authority and education and leadership, you know. Um, so the first thing, the biggest thing for you as a manifestor or any manifestor is that you have the room to just to move with your urges. Like that's going to be the biggest thing that's kind of moving the needle forward, and that you're not too logical about things. Like that'll be the magic source, is the following the, and for you being splenic and being ego, it'll be following the spontaneous kind of intuitive pings that you have around, like, I just have to do this, I just have to create this. Do you find you feel more energized when you are, like, it's interesting, these are the creatress tapes, you know, because manifestors, you are the creators, right? Like so much of like that bringing new energy through, sparking something new. Do you find that you feel better in business when you are creating new things, when
Yes.
you can just kind of be in that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that would be important to listen to. I know a lot of traditional business advice is like you do one thing and you do it well, and then you scale it and you just keep going and you do it for years and you become the expert in that. And it's like, actually, for so many people that doesn't work, you know. Um, so that would be the first thing as a manifester, and continuing to use your theme of peace to know, like, am I on track? Am I creating what I'm meant to? Am I having the impact that I'm meant to? Also, the recognition of your impact can be a really beautiful. So when you were talking earlier about feeling really appreciated by your clients, I was like, yeah, you're hearing your impact. Like you're hearing your impact. Like manifestors need that. Like you need to know how you're impacting the people and the world around you. As a 4-6, I would say the sixth line is really interesting because it's very educational, but six lines never think they're the teacher. You know, they're the eternal students, you know, and it's like, it's so interesting. I've had a lot of 6-2 clients, so it's slightly different. I have a lot of 4-6 friends, though. I'm surrounded by 4-6s. Um, so you are really here to be that embodied, integrated teacher, you know, who, you know, the sixth line, it's not the same as the fifth line, but there is a level of like being a little bit unreachable as a sixth line. Um, you're kind of the objective observer, you kind of stepped back. People feel that kind of leadership quality in you. And it's really about giving sort of your objective observations, your overarching view of things. But a big part of it will be teaching from a place of what have I lived through and what have I moved through too. So it's interesting with the journey that you've gone on, and how, like, you know, when you're talking about like your redundancy and then all the identity work and worth work you've had to do since then, like I can imagine that's going to be something you're going to have like tremendous wisdom then to share and be potentially helping other people with as well. um and but six lines, it is often really beautiful. Like, I don't know, how do you feel sharing more of your life and your day to day? Does that feel natural for you? Because
It does. And it
yeah,
really kind of, where I feel most at home is in very just like organic sharing, in that
yeah,
I feel really at home on Substack and I feel really at home on Instagram stories. And
yeah.
what's been really interesting to me lately is because I've had such a, oh God, I've had such a traumatic experience with my voice. Like I've copped
mm,
so much shit throughout my life about how my voice sounds. And
mm,
I have like this core memory of being in the year 11 production of Pride and Prejudice, and
mm,
our drama teacher yelling at me in front of the whole production to project my Minnie Mouse voice. And that has stayed with me forever, to the point where I would go mute whenever someone would pull out a camera and start filming. And it took me so long to get on Instagram stories when that was introduced and be on video. And one day I had to just have my fuck it moment where I'm like, Sonia, you're a coach. And if people don't see you and hear you, how are they going to connect with you? And so I really had to like, that took a lot of healing and a lot of getting over my fears to just get on. And now I'm feeling such a strong pull, which is why I started this podcast series to use my voice and be in conversation and be able to talk, because you can say so much more in like 1 minute of speaking than you can put down in like written word. And I still
Yeah.
have oh my God, I will always have a love affair with the written word because I love long form writing, always have, always will.
Mm,
She's a blogger. You can never take the blogger out of the girl over here. But for me, it's so funny you say lived experience, because I have tried so many different forms of writing and also posting on Instagram. And the ones that just feel so inauthentic to me are, here are 3 ways to do this, or
mm,
five things to try, or this or that. And it's like, no, for me, it's like
mm.
telling my story
Yeah.
and then sharing the learnings that I've personally gotten out of it, and
Mm,
then giving it over to the other person to be like, here, you can do whatever you want with this, like take what resonates,
mm,
leave what doesn't. Mine for your own gems is what I like to say, is I let people mine for their own gems in what I've shared. And
mm,
I have really had to, I'm still in the work, I'm still really struggling to know that that's enough, that it's
mm,
valuable. And that's why
mm,
I think appreciation, I'm so glad you acknowledge that. Appreciation
mm,
is such a big fucking deal for me, because,
mm,
and I love that you've linked it with impact, because I was literally just saying, like, during my meltdown this week,
mm,
during my what the fuck is the point? What am I doing? Moment, is like I just saying, like, I've still got the same sized audience. I've still got like the same like number on my mailing list, and you know that my subscribers on
mm.
Substack. And what really set this off, I love a good trigger, was like yet another fucking article on Substack about, I've been on Substack for 3 months and I've got over 1,000 subscribers. Here's how I did it. It's like, fuck you.
Mm.
Like, I've been on Substack for 3 years and I
Yeah.
don't have 1,000 subscribers. And like, I'm not
Mm,
gonna lie, like that breaks my heart. Like, I'm really, it does
mm,
upset me that I don't have a bigger audience. And I'm not having the impact I'm wanting to have to the scale that
mm,
I think I'm capable of. But I also
mm,
think I'm cock blocking myself and I'm like bottlenecking myself, because I'm not ready for that. Like, I'm not ready to receive it, because
mm,
obviously I don't think I'm worth it. I don't think I'm
mm,
worthy of it. So it has been this. How long have I been on Instagram? 13 years? I don't know.
mm,
First, originally as Sonia Styling, my blogger identity, and
mm,
now as Sonia Babersdork. And
mm.
I've had my business, it'll be 9 years in January. And it has been this constant battle that I like. This is just a life lesson for me, is like, I'm enough. I'm enough. I'm enough. The
Mm,
way I do it is enough. The way that I share is enough. The fact that I can't, I've tried everything else and all I keep coming back to is sharing my lived experience, and that's enough.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that has been my fucking work.
Mm. It's interesting you mentioned that, like the audience and the community size, because you so the as the 4/6, I
Mm.
would say it is more about the quality and the depth of the
That's so nice to hear.
network and the community. I have so many fourth line clients I've worked with who, word of mouth, like people will be just like your close group and people, like they'll do half your marketing for you too as a fourth line. Um, and so I absolutely see fourth lines like it does, you can have a huge audience, you can have big communities, but sometimes if it's not if you feel like it's like actually it's more because you've got the quality and you've got the depth that are there
Yeah.
already. And you're
And
here to be as a 4/6, like you're here to influence through what you share. Like the 4 has the most potential to be influential amongst the community and the network. So, and you'll find like yeah, like you're here to kind of create opportunities for people to like be the connector, but then also your network will be connecting you all the time. So it's a much more like it's like you have this beautiful symbiotic relationship with with them. But yeah, influencing through what you share of your personal lived experience and then all that embodied wisdom that you've got. But yes, sharing your day to day, I think as a 6 line can be really nice because people want to feel your embodiment. They want to feel like you walking your talk and how you live your life um
yeah, they
and
want
it's
to see it
interesting.
in motion.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. So many manifestors have conditioning in the throat center, though, too. It tends to be the biggest, because people usually through childhood or through school, people feel the power of the manifestor, and we feel like the power of your energy field, the power of your throat, because all energy in human design, it's trying to get to the throat, and that's what makes you you. And then oftentimes people will shut it down. They'll try to control it. You'll try to be initiating, and then you're meeting all this resistance because the adults around you or the teachers around you are like, what is this? We need to shut, whoa, 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 let's keep that under wraps. So there's such a journey, especially for manifestor women, and like reclaiming the voice and the throat and really to standing in all of that and standing in the power of that, of like, no, I have an impactful voice. So it's so great you're doing this, because using your voice will be really important.
Yeah. And like I said to you before we hit record, I was like, only share what you're comfortable sharing. I say this with every guest, like, only share what you're comfortable sharing, only go as deep or as personal as you want to. But please know that I'm not going to hang you out there on your own. You're not going to be out on the limb by yourself. I'm going to be sharing my personal experience and my
Mm,
life and my journey and whatever we're talking about as well,
mm,
because I think there is really something in it. And I interviewed another guest yesterday and I asked her the final question, which I will ask you shortly. But like she said that we were talking about as well, we were talking about deconditioning shame as a woman.
mm, mm,
And really just like how do we start to decondition from shame? And she so beautifully just said like this. We need to talk about this stuff. We need to like not
mm,
keep all of this stuff behind closed doors, but have these conversations about what you're struggling with or how you move through something or what you learned from a particularly hard time, because that's how we feel less alone. And then that's how we
mm,
get to start to decondition our own shame as well. And then that gets to have an impact on somebody else as well. So, like we're in this constant, beautiful motion of this ripple effect every
mm,
time we talk about something that has happened to us or we've moved through or what we've learned. Because, like, as women, I feel in particular, we just are so connected. Like there is just such a beautiful connection amongst
mm,
women that just exists because we're women. And yeah, I think
mm,
the more conversations we have around this, the better. And yeah,
mm,
so thank you. And just thank you as well for saying the words quality and depth, because
mm,
I feel like they're stitched into my DNA. Is like I'm
mm,
obsessed with quality and I'm obsessed with depth. So anything I ever create has to
mm,
be beautiful, but it also has to have depth to it as well. It has to
mm,
have quality in its depth and, the nuances and the details. Like Virgo sun and Aries moon and rising, but I've also got I've got Libra, Venus in Libra. And so for me, it like has
mm.
to be beautiful and it has to be practical. Like, so quality
Yeah.
and depth is like that's my energetic signature right
Yeah. I love that. I love that blend of the Virgo with the Libran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So good.
Beautiful.
Okay, my love. Oh my God, you've been so generous with all of your wisdom and your time. So I'm going to ask you the final question that I ask all of my guests. And that is, this podcast series is called the Creatress Tapes because I believe that within every woman exists the creatress. Because we
Mm,
are all inherently here to create something in our lifetime, be it a family, a business, an artistic pursuit, creative project, whatever it is. If there's a woman listening right now and she wants to tap into her inner creatress a little bit more or let her creatress out and be expressed in the world just a little bit more, what would
mm,
you most want her to know?
mm. I think for me, the biggest thing and the biggest reminder that has served me on my path is that all creations, they're actually a co-creation, and so we might be the vessel for something to come through, whether perfect human form to birth, whatever it is. But know that it's never just about you. It's never just about your personal significance. Like if you have the desire and the gifts and the skill to bring something to the world, then it's because it's a co-creation and it's a manifestation. There are people out there who are looking for this thing. There are people out there who are calling this in. I see it as like the three pillars. It's like it's you're one part, the world, the people who are calling this in are another part, and then it's like the collective frequency that's really kind of propelling us forward, right? Because I agree, we are a creative species. I think, we're here to create and birth. We're here to innovate, keep bringing new things through. That's how we progress. A mentor of mine once said to me, like, I think I was having a bit of stuff. Like I was a bit stuck with something. And she said to me, and it's kind of brutal now. I'm like, oh, but I needed it. But she was like, who are you? Who are you to to deny someone else from getting that? Like, who are you to take that away from someone else? And so I always try to remember that, like, yeah, if I'm holding something back, if it's alive in me and I'm meeting my edges around it, it's like this reminder that it's not actually just for me. And so who am I to sort of deny someone else of that experience or of that work? Um,
Oof, I love
mm,
that. Who am I to deny? I love that.
mm,
That's gonna be a mantra I'm gonna take forward with me for the rest of my life. Who am I to
mm,
deny this creation
mm,
or this moment or this conversation or whatever? Oh my God, I love
mm.
that so much. You are just everything I knew you to be and more. You are just magnificent. Like the word that just comes to me whenever I think of you is just magnificent. And you are just
Aw.
so wonderful and such a gift to this world. And I'm so grateful you said yes to this conversation. So thank you so much for gifting us with your presence.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for everything you bring to these conversations. You're such a natural. This was just so easy and so flowy and so lovely. So thank you.
You are an angel. Thank you so much.